All right, here we go, folks. Today is Tuesday, October 20th. We're already nearing the end of October. I know, it's crazy. Today, what I want to go over is our food taster lab, or more accurately, our first organic molecules lab, because that's our goal. That's what we're going over today and this week for this unit till next week, whatever. Anyway, and the point is I want to make sure that you guys can understand and see doing this. So, if we take a look, your lab looks just like this, and you'll find it right here under Unit 2 for the biomolecules, Week 1, and it is our food taster lab right here. Here's the file, there's the turn-in, let's get started. So, you once again procrastinated and didn't look for a summer job until the last day of school. No biggie. You pick up the penny saver and flip to the employment section. Unfortunately, there is only one job available, and it is a strange one. Food taster. You dial the number and are hired on the spot and start today. You show up at the address given, and it is the home to the King and Queen of Norwich. You are asked to test their food for starch, lipids, and sugar. The King of Norwich cannot eat foods that contain starch because it will kill him. The Queen cannot eat foods that contain a combination of sugar and lipids. You want to keep your job and make as much money as possible, so it's in your best interest not to mess up. Complete the following charts to see what foods are okay to serve to the royal couple. Remember, they cannot eat any starchy foods, and they also cannot eat foods that contain a combination of lipids and sugar. Good luck. So, when you take a look down here, you're going to see 8 different food types that are listed. If you have these food types, you're free to use them. If you don't have them, that's fine. Find 8 other food things that you can test. You don't need to do the listed 8. If we were here in the classroom, I would have them prepared for you so everybody could. But since we aren't, then I can't, so we won't. Any 8 that you can find will be fine. You're just going to kind of cross off or rename these. Now, what you want to do once you do have your foods is you want to first guess what the main ingredient is. And when I say main ingredient, I don't want you to look at the pepperoni and try to guess the type of meat. I want you to guess, is it starch, lipids, or sugar? So all of your main ingredients should be one of those 3. What is your guess? Then we're going to do our tests. We're going to have our starch test, which we're going to need to modify, our lipid test, and our sugar test. We're going to start with the sugar test. It tastes sweet. You eat it. Does it taste sweet? If it does, put a check mark in that column for that food. Easy enough. Now, for the lipid, the oil lipid test, this one I want to show you guys because it gets a little bit more complicated. So, you get a sheet of paper or anything that's made of paper. A paper plate will work just fine. You guys have all seen this effect if you've ever had a slice of pizza on a paper plate, because when some of the grease comes off of the pizza, you'll notice that that area of the paper plate gets kind of shiny and translucent, like light can pass through. So I have grabbed a chicken nugget from my son's leftover meal or whatever. Now I will take said chicken nugget and I'm going to rub it on the paper, and I want to see, does it become translucent? So I take it. All right, after just doing that, you can see the text on the other side. Now we can hold it up to the light. Let me see. There we go. And you see how you can see the light through this part more than the rest of the paper? That's a positive test for lipids. Now, let's try another food item. Potato. And let me make sure. I rub the potato right here. There's nothing. No lipids in the potato. So That's how you're going to do your lipid test. Pretty straightforward. Remember, look for that shiny bit that lets light through it. If you see that, yep, then it's got some oil, some fats. Now, the last one is the starch test. And I want to show you what the normal starch test would look like, and then explain to you how we're going to do it. Because most of you don't have this, and I thought I brought it over with my materials, but I didn't. One moment. Okay, so this is what we call Lugol's solution. It's iodine. Iodine is a starch indicator. So here, first let me show you the color that iodine normally is. It's normally like that brownish gold color. Now, we're going to take something, in this case, cornstarch. And I'm going to put some cornstarch into this watch glass, just so that you guys can see how it works. Zoop. Right. Now, normally, once again, iodine is this nice golden brown color, but watch what happens when it mixes with starch. What color does it turn? Black. This is what happens when iodine mixes with starch. It is what we call an indicator, and there's a color change as it mixes with the starch, and it turns black, like you see there. Now, normally, what we would do then is we would take our other foods, like our potato, and now we would add some iodine to it. You can see the potato is turning black because potato has starch in it. So we put a little check mark in the potato. We would take something like the chicken nugget. We would add iodine to that. You see, it's turning black. So the chicken nugget has starch in it. That is the traditional way to test. If you have iodine, because it is in a first aid kit or something, we use it sometimes as a disinfectant, hospitals do, then feel free to use it, and you can test it the exact same way. Add a couple drops, see if it turns black. If you do not have iodine available, that's okay. We do have another approach, and that is take the food item, like this potato, and bite off a piece and chew it for a minute. Now, as you're doing this, God, this tastes terrible. As you're doing this, what's going to happen is the saliva in your mouth will start to break down the starch in the food item. And after about a minute, you'll actually start to taste something sweet, as the starch polymer of a carbohydrate is broken down to the monomer sugars. Yep, but this is terrible. Okay, so once that's done, and you've tested your 8 items for sugar, for starch, and for lipids, then what you're going to do is you're going to come back to the lab, and you're going to answer these 4 questions at the bottom. What foods are safe to feed to the king? Remember, he can't eat starch, so anything with starch, you're not going to list. What foods are safe to feed to the queen? These are foods that don't have sugar or lipids. Then, what trends can you see in the charts above? What types of food have positive and negative tests? Don't worry, we're looking for a trend. So see if you see something that's kind of popping out to you from that data table, mark it down. And finally, this one, it's a little bit questionable, but remember the potato. What advantages are there for a plant to store starch underground? And remember, a potato is nothing but starch. Why is it underground? Apples grow above ground. So do tomatoes, and peppers, and stuff like that. So why would a plant want to grow its little starch nugget underground? See if you can answer that. Now, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, do not answer these yet. We're going to go over these as a group because these are directly out of the Regents. All right. I hope that helps, and I hope that it clarifies how to do the lab. I'm going to go get rid of this wad of nasty potato that's been sitting in this room for like a week, and I'll see everybody at class.